King Harbor from Bonita. So I'm pulling like this, and he's like, Glenn, feed the shrimp. And I'm like, what are shrimp? That made a lot of sense, and I've never forgotten it. So it's the same thing. When you get down to the beach, dig around, get some sand crabs, drop them in the water, and watch how they swim. They swim a certain way, and that's what you want to duplicate.
So what is your box that you're casting into ideally? Like, is it a 2 foot by 1 foot box out in front of them? Or?
Can I ask you to hold that question?
Oh, okay.
I've got a couple more images coming up here. What's going to...
Sure.
Another thing, if you've done, some of you guys have done some bone fishing, some carp fishing, some of the best advice you can receive is to look where you can see. Look where you can see. Don't spend time trying to look through that glare in the late afternoon, or if it's cloudy, you're standing too far away. Get up where you can see where the fish are. And as you get more experience, that distance will increase. My distance for seeing bonefish is different than Wade's. Wade's seeing them at 100 yards, I'm seeing them at 100 feet. And that comes with experience. So, again, based on the day, based on the sun angle, based on the conditions, it might be silty. It might not even be, Tim, we've been on some days at Dockwater where it looked like it was chocolate milk. I mean, you couldn't see anything, right? So when you get a little closer, at the risk of being picked up on fish, but at least you can then feed the fish, you can make a cast, but you gotta see them. You gotta see the fish first. So here's my buddy Jim Solomon. So here's a great example of additive structure. There was 2 fish on that particular day, right in that seam, because the water where the waves were receding and coming in, they were creating structure. They were creating a mound of water where it was converging versus that dip. It was raised up and they were feeding in that thing. And based on the contours of the sand, the water was kind of coming in and it was kind of going out. So again, look for these kinds of things. Just like fishing a river, for trout, looking for something different, an edge. But again, a little additive structure. And I don't think he hooked this one. But he got a couple of good casts, a couple of nice ones, and they were right inside. You see right where it's humped up? That's what I'm talking about. A little bit of reverb here where the wave was sucking back and it was hitting another wave coming in. And but they were there. Jim's got great eyes. He's been at this since, I don't know, 2006. So he picked up on that. I kind of got a quick shot.
Rip cricks as well?
Yes. Absolutely.
Looks like a rip right there.
Yes. That's exactly. It was a little mini rip. A little mini rip. And some of the big rips are good too, because a lot of times those will create those depressions, right? And they're gateways for the fish to come in out of open ocean. I don't know where they go. But they're out there somewhere, and at some point they're coming in to eat. But rips are a great highway for them to come into the beach. Key point. I've had more people come up to me and say, Glenn, I was down there, whatever, and then I had those corbina like right next to my feet. I'm like, dude, you're not catching anything because the fish is associating your presentation with who? You. Step back, dry feet. If at all possible, get away from the fish as far as you can and don't give them a reason to connect your presentation to you. Stand back. That's the worst thing you can do is start wading in the water and start looking for the corbina. Because where you're standing, they're probably behind you. They're probably behind you because they're oftentimes feeding in water this deep. And I've seen more guys do that. They'll see a nice hole. I gotta get out there. Gotta get out there. Just bombing away. And I'm like, dude, they're right over here. They're right over here. So stay dry. Stay dry, my friends. So there, additive structure. There's pools. There's pools. And pools are little areas there where they've got like a little piece of deeper water coming into a little collection point. And those can be great areas. Those can be jackpots where fish funnel into there because it might be the only piece of good structure on that beach. And they come in there and they're hungry, and if the food's there, your chances are good. So here's a little bit of a close-up of what we saw from way up on top. This is what I like to fish the most. Shallow sandbars, and you got this depression. I think, yeah, it was a couple foot deep. And what the fish are doing is they're coming in initially into the trough, and they're just moving up and down the trough. And generally, they're going to feed into the current. Most fish, trout, bass, whatever, they like feeding into the current because all that turbulence, food is coming at them, and as they feed, all of that sand, mud, whatever you want to call it, is behind them, and it gives them a clear view of what it is they're looking for. It gives them a clean shot. But they also like to slide back down. What you'll find is when you're fishing the trough, they'll hit the end of it. There's an end of this thing at some point. It doesn't go on forever, it stops. You'll see them drop back, kind of glide back, and then they'll restart. It's like going back for seconds. It's like being in a soup plantation and getting one pizza. Just drop back, and they start going on that same path. So what these fish were doing is with each surge, they're done in that little trough, and they're like, okay, here it comes, Wade, let's get ready, let's go. And then they come up and they feed, and you've got like 0.6 seconds to get that cast in front of them, and they're like, let's go. And they go back down. And they'll feed in a certain rhythm. If you watch the waves, the way they're coming in, if you stand back and you look, it's like a sine wave. I wasn't good at math, but I know this much. They're coming up, they feed, and they go back down. Coming up, they're going back down. So you can back pedal, you can go back, you might get a shot, blow it, happens. Walk down the sand. Get ready for that next approach by that fish because he's feeding on a certain rhythm or interval. Yep, it's my favorite.
Hey Glenn, how long does structure last?
I've seen it gone in a day. I mean, that structure I was fishing on Wednesday, it was, no, it was last week, yeah. It was a perfect setup, Craig.
Yeah.
And that south swell came banging in and just destroyed it. I was like, oh. So I had to go look.
So you can't scout an area that you're going to fish tomorrow. You want to.
You can. As we get later into the year, when I think weather stabilizes, and I think we're getting into that period right now. Like if you look at our weather pattern right now, the beach is showing 65, 67 for the next 10 days. There's no fronts coming through, and that's a good thing. Because we're not going to get the wind. The overcast means we're not going to have big winds. When it gets clear, it's windy. And so that's stability, and that's what we want. Let that structure be there for us to go to after you've scattered it out.
As long as you're not swimming.
So same thing, shallow sandbar, got fish in and out of deeper holes. A little hard to see, but can you see the darker spots? Yeah, the polarizing filter didn't really do a great job, but in these areas there, those fish are kind of coming in and out, and like, damn, where'd he go? Oh, where'd he go? And so hopefully as they were coming up out of that edge is when your shot came. And,
Do they feed much where the water drops off in the sandbar into the
yeah,
trough?
on the outside, we don't do well out there. Yeah, they seem to want to, and it's because, where do you think the food is? The food's on the beach. Yeah, sand crabs are on the beach. And all they're going to do is they're just going to move up and down with the tide. They might even go deep depending on the height of the surf, or if it's cold, or if it's warm. Oh, dry feet. Remember it. So we were talking a little bit about food sources. At some point during the year, they decided it's time to come out, and it's usually late spring. And so they've been eating mussels, they've been eating goat shrimp, they've been eating clams, and they'll even eat fish. They eat fish, they eat clousers. Every year some of the biggest corbina get caught on clousers. But even though they key in on these food sources during the winter and fall months, they don't forget about these food sources. So even when they move into the beach areas there, we talked a little bit about rocky areas. I think, Gary, you asked that. They still remember that. So even if there's no sand crabs around, they'll still move in up next to a jetty or a rock pile, and they'll feed around it. Because mussels, they still love them. You know, they haven't forgotten that those are still good ways of gaining calories or obtaining calories. But They love sand crabs. That is the